Okay, so this video is about using 2D design in conjunction with our laser cutter. So we're using a Spirit laser cutter and Texoff 2D design. So I've got my design here. As you can notice, I'm only using red lines. Now, what we do at the bridge is we use red lines for cutting and black lines for engraving. This just is a good system to ensure that we remember which one is which and set the power and speed accordingly in the properties. So the first thing I always do is go to File, Print, Setup, and I make sure that my Spirit laser cutter or my laser cutter is shown in the print window here. Okay. Now when I click OK, it will come up with a message box that basically says, do you want to change the page or the layout as it's called so it's the same as the printer? Now if we always click yes, what we're then presented with is a page that is set to, in our case, the A2 bed size of the laser cutter. Now this top part here represents the top left of the laser cutter bed and obviously the bottom right in the rear corner here. So generally, if we're using a piece of new material, we'll want to work from the top like this to maximize the amount of space and nest items accordingly to reduce wastage. So I go back to File and Print Setup now because I want to put the parameters in for our laser cutter. Now I'm just cutting some card, so I can cut a fairly brisk speed of, we'll try it on about 5. Okay, you can always adjust this later when you get a bit of a taste, and you can kind of do a test piece, sometimes doing a small circle or square, something like that, to ensure that your speeds are fine. Now you'll notice there's two selections that we can choose over here, which is raster and vector. Now if you are just doing line work, as in you are just cutting or you're engraving lines that you've drawn on the likes of 2D design or Illustrator or another vector program, we only need vector tick. Now the raster is if we want to basically do some shading or colouring in, or work with, you know, image files such as JPEGs or bitmaps or GIFs that we've taken off the internet and we want to sort of shade in some of the colours. So I'm going to click OK. Now what that's done is it's sent the data to our laser cutter. So we're going to turn our laser cutter on first of all, and we've got to do a little bit of setup to ensure the material that we've put inside is focused, so it's setting in the right speed and cutting at the right power and stuff as we've set it. If I can just show you inside the machine, we've got a piece of mount board that we're going to cut, and you can see when we first turn the machine on, it starts doing its normal setup where it moves around the bed like this, and you should make sure obviously that your hands are clear of the machine while it's doing this, because you could potentially risk it. Now with the carriage free, I'm going to place my material in. Now you'll notice that about 5 centimeters in from the edge we have the 0 point there. That's where we want to start cutting. That is the corner top left point of the screen that we discussed earlier. Now I'm going to move the laser module over the material like this and put in our manual focus and just slide it in here into the hole. Now what we're aiming for is the gap between the bottom of the laser focus to be on the top of here. Now because our base has been used for quite a while, you can see it's slightly contoured, it's slightly beveled and stuff. So what we need to do is obviously push it down slightly and just move the module down so that this point is resting on here and that point is touching the bottom of the material. So if I just put you back onto the control panel over here, we have these buttons. It's just a sort of CNC type device, and we can raise it up. So what we're after is just for the module to be scraping just slightly on the top of the material like this, and there we have it. It's just touching. So I can take this out. It's very important this comes out, because if this starts moving around and running, there's a chance that this could break or damage the machine. So we just place it back there. Now this is pretty much ready to cut. Now the file hasn't gone across because we sent the file before turning this machine on. So what you can do to alleviate this problem if it does happen is just remove the USB port like this and put it back in again, and then that should help to send that across. I'm just going to send the print again like this, and as you can see we've got the print coming up on the screen there with the settings that we sent. There's our speed and power settings like that. Okay, now the last thing we want to do is obviously turn on our vacuum, so it's going to get quite noisy, and then press the start button to start cutting. Now, as we can see from that, it looks like it's cut pretty well. What we shouldn't do, obviously, is open it up straight away. We should leave the fumes to expel a little bit through the vacuum. but as it's card, it's not too bad. But what I tend to do is just test the print like that. Now you can see that's popped out quite nicely, but what I'm doing is I'm supporting the work here so that I'm not moving this, because if I wanted to run this again, if it hadn't cut all the way through, what I do is just leave it, maybe change the power and speed settings so they're a little bit different, and then send data again so I can cut all the way through the material. That's it.